The story of the peppered moth is a classic example of natural selection. This tale, often recounted in biology classes, provides a vivid illustration of how species can adapt to their changing environments over time. The peppered moth, scientifically known as Biston betularia, has two primary color forms, a light-colored variant and a dark-colored variant. These moths have become a symbol of evolutionary change, demonstrating how environmental pressures can shape the characteristics of a population. Before the Industrial Revolution, these moths were typically light-colored with black speckles. This coloration provided them with excellent camouflage against the lichen-covered trees they rested on. The light-colored moths blended seamlessly into their surroundings, making it difficult for predators, such as birds, to spot them. This camouflage was crucial for their survival, as it reduced their chances of being eaten. This made them hard to see against the lichen-covered trees they rested on. The symbiotic relationship between the moths and their environment was a delicate balance, ensuring that the moths could thrive without falling prey to predators. The light-colored moths were well adapted to their environment and their population flourished. However, as coal-burning factories began to dominate the landscape, things started to change. The Industrial Revolution brought about significant environmental changes, particularly in urban areas. Factories released large amounts of soot and other pollutants into the air, which eventually settled on the trees and other surfaces. This pollution had a profound impact on the natural habitats of many species, including the peppered moth. The pollution from these factories darkened the trees, making the light-colored moths easy targets for predators. The once effective camouflage of the light-colored moths was rendered useless against the soot-covered bark. As a result, the light-colored moths became more visible to predators, leading to a decline in their population. This shift in the environment created new challenges for the peppered moths, forcing them to adapt or face extinction. Over time, a new type of peppered moth emerged, one that was dark-colored, almost black. This darker variant, known as the melanic form, had a significant survival advantage in the polluted environment. The dark-colored moths were better camouflaged against the soot-covered trees, making them less visible to predators. This change in coloration was a direct response to the environmental pressures caused by industrial pollution. This darker coloration provided excellent camouflage against the soot-covered trees. The melanic moths thrived in the polluted environment, while the light-colored moths continued to decline. This shift in the population of peppered moths is a clear example of natural selection, where the traits that enhance survival and reproduction become more common in the population over time. This shift in moth coloration, driven by the environmental pressures of industrial pollution, is a powerful illustration of natural selection in action. The story of the peppered moth reminds us of the profound impact that human activities can have on the natural world. It also highlights the incredible ability of species to adapt to changing environments, ensuring their survival in the face of new challenges. The tale of the peppered moth continues to be a compelling example of evolution and the dynamic relationship between organisms and their habitats. The Industrial Revolution, while a time of great technological advancement, also brought about significant environmental changes. This era, spanning from the late 18th century to the early 19th century, marked a pivotal shift in human history. Factories sprang up almost overnight, and with them came an insatiable demand for energy. The primary source of this energy was coal, a fossil fuel that was abundant and relatively easy to extract. However, the environmental cost of this newfound energy source was immense. Coal, the primary fuel source of the time, released massive amounts of soot into the air. The process of mining coal was itself a dirty and dangerous endeavor, often leading to the destruction of natural landscapes and the contamination of water sources. Once extracted, the coal was transported to factories where it was burned in large quantities to power machinery and generate steam. This black smoke billowed from factory chimneys, staining the sky and settling on everything below. The air quality in industrial towns deteriorated rapidly, with thick plumes of smoke becoming a common sight. This pollution was not just an eyesore, it had serious health implications for the people living in these areas. Respiratory illnesses became more prevalent, and the overall quality of life diminished. The once pristine landscapes of England, particularly in industrial centers like Manchester, were transformed into shadowy versions of their former selves. Rivers that once ran clear were now choked with industrial waste, and the lush greenery of the countryside was replaced by a grimy, soot-covered terrain. The environmental degradation was stark and undeniable. The air itself became thick and heavy with pollutants, making it difficult to breathe and casting a perpetual haze over the sun. People in these industrial towns often wore masks to protect themselves from the worst of the pollution, but these measures were only partially effective. The smog that enveloped these areas was a constant reminder of the environmental cost of industrial progress. The environmental consequences of this unchecked industrial growth were just beginning to reveal themselves. As factories continued to proliferate, the scale of pollution grew exponentially. It became clear that the Industrial Revolution, while a marvel of human ingenuity, had also unleashed a dark cloud upon the world. This period serves as a poignant reminder of the need for sustainable development and the importance of balancing progress with environmental stewardship. Imagine a forest before the Industrial Revolution, trees covered in lichen, a colorful combination of algae and fungi, creating a mosaic of light and dark patches. Now picture the impact of coal soot. The soot, carried by the wind, settled on the trees, coating them in a layer of black grime. The once vibrant lichen died, unable to survive in the polluted environment. The trees, once a tapestry of colors, became uniformly dark, almost as if draped in mourning for the cleaner world they once knew. Before the Industrial Revolution, the light-colored peppered moths thrived. Their speckled wings blended seamlessly with the lichen on trees, making them nearly invisible to predators like birds. But as the trees darkened, the light-colored moths stood out like beacons against the soot. Their camouflage, once a survival advantage, became a liability. Birds could easily spot them against the dark background, leading to a dramatic decline in their numbers. The very trait that had ensured their survival for generations was now putting them at risk of extinction. Section 5. The Rise of the Black Moth. As the environment changed, so too did the peppered moth population. The Industrial Revolution brought about significant changes to the natural world. Factories spewed out smoke and soot, which settled on trees and buildings, darkening the landscape. This environmental shift had a profound impact on the local wildlife, particularly the peppered moths. While the light-colored moths struggled to survive against the now darkened backdrop, a new variant emerged, the melanic moth, with its dark, almost black wings. This variant was not just a random occurrence but a direct response to the changing environment. The melanic moths had a better chance of survival as they could blend in with the soot-covered trees, making them less visible to predators. This darker coloration, a result of a genetic mutation, provided the moths with a significant advantage. The mutation was a simple change in the moth's DNA, but it had a profound effect on their survival. The black wings allowed them to hide in plain sight, avoiding birds and other predators that would otherwise spot and eat them. Against the soot-darkened trees, they were practically invisible to predators. This camouflage was crucial for their survival. Predators, such as birds, rely heavily on sight to hunt. With the trees darkened by industrial soot, the black moths had a distinct advantage over their lighter counterparts. The black moths thrived, reproducing and passing on their advantageous genes. Over time, the population of black moths grew, while the number of light-colored moths dwindled. This shift in population dynamics is a clear example of natural selection at work. The traits that provided a survival advantage were passed on to the next generation. Within a few generations, the dark-colored moths became the dominant form, a testament to the power of natural selection. This rapid change in the moth population highlights how quickly species can adapt to environmental changes. The rise of the black moth is a fascinating example of evolution in action, showing how species can evolve and thrive in response to human-induced changes in their environment. Section 6. Beyond the moth coal's broader impact. The story of the peppered moth is just one example of how industrial pollution can impact the natural world. Coal-fired power plants, while essential for powering our modern lives, release a cocktail of harmful pollutants into the environment. These emissions don't just disappear, they have far-reaching consequences for air quality, human health, and the delicate balance of our planet's ecosystems. Section 7. Air pollution, a breath of trouble. One of the most immediate impacts of coal-fired power plants is air pollution. The burning of coal releases a variety of pollutants into the air. including sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides, and particulate matter. These pollutants can irritate the lungs, trigger asthma attacks, and contribute to chronic respiratory diseases. Children, the elderly, and those with pre-existing respiratory conditions are particularly vulnerable to the effects of air pollution. Section 8. Climate change, turning up the heat. Coal combustion is a major contributor to climate change. When coal burns, it releases carbon dioxide, a greenhouse gas, into the atmosphere. Greenhouse gases trap heat from the sun, causing the planet to warm. This warming effect can lead to more extreme weather events, rising sea levels, and disruptions to ecosystems. Section 9. A stark reminder and a call to action. The tale of the peppered moth serves as a stark reminder of the interconnectedness of all living things and the profound impact human activities can have on the natural world. It's a call to action to be mindful of our environmental footprint and to seek cleaner, more sustainable ways to power our world. By understanding the consequences of our actions, we can work towards a future where both humanity and nature can thrive.